Hi everyone, welcome back to Aviary for another video today from, of course, our bird rooms and aviaries. Now, it's been a few weeks since we have actually been here, and what a few weeks it's been. It's absolutely freezing here at the moment. I've got my body warmer on, I've got some gloves on, and it is really cold. It's barely been above freezing for about a week now. Everything's frozen and it is a bit of a nightmare keeping birds. So today we're going to see how the birds are coping throughout this cold spell, and we're going to talk about the different things I'm doing to help them cope and make sure they can live comfortably when it is really cold. Now, the first thing that we've done to make sure our birds are absolutely fine, or should be fine in this cold temperatures, is wrap the front of the flights. So we've got some polythene bags that are built into a frame, and we've just screwed that frame onto the front of the aviary. So this is one of the flights now. We've got greenfinches in here, and we've got a hawfinch in here and a crossbill. These birds are relatively hardy birds. However, they need to make sure that draft isn't affecting them, and that's for all birds. The thing that will kill birds is the draft getting to them rather than the temperature generally. It depends on what types of birds you keep, but I keep British finches and canaries. They can cope absolutely fine in negative temperatures, but a draft will kill them. So the first thing you have to make sure you've done is you've eliminated any drafts that can bother your birds. Now, something that I've also done with these is we have clear perspex roofs on here. Allows the sunlight to go through without making it too hot in the summer, and it means that in the winter you do get that nice little bit of heat, and the birds can of course sit in the sun without getting rained on. And there's all the avian flu restrictions at the moment as well that we have to be aware of, so nothing can drop through into the flights. So I've had to scrape all the ice and the snow off of the roof of the flights. It's a real problem. It blocks out all the sunlight and it just keeps it rather cold in there. So I've took all that off, and I'm having to do that probably every day now, and just remove it all, let some sunlight through, and the birds do really seem to appreciate that and enjoy it. A hard frost can actually be beneficial to the birds if you don't keep sensitive exotic species. Like I said earlier, because I keep canaries and I keep British finches, these birds are hardened to the climate of getting rather cold, especially in the UK as it is. Now, if you do keep anything like red siskins or exotic siskin species, or just exotic species of birds anyway, this doesn't apply, but a hard frost really helps our birds, our native birds. It helps harden the feathers off, and it makes them tighten up a little bit more, and it makes them finish much nicer. And you will notice that, especially with your young birds, is that they do begin to fill out once they've molted and had about 2 months after the molt. But a frost really does give them a nice finish. So do make sure that the birds can get that, and you haven't got heaters on in your bird rooms if you are keeping sort of native finches and canaries, because a frost can be really beneficial. And I must admit, the birds, when it's really humid, aren't particularly happy with that. It can make them ill, it can cause respiratory problems, but when it's like this and it is cold, they're actually absolutely bouncing. All the greenfinches are bouncing today. They're actually really loving it, and it's -2 at the moment, which is surprising, but everything's getting on remarkably well with it, which some people wouldn't expect. So do make sure the birds can get that frost to them. It does harden the feathers, it does tighten them up, but make sure you just don't get drafts bothering them. So last night it was -6 degrees Celsius, absolutely freezing, and all the birds' waters are frozen, completely solid. They're frozen blocks. It's now 9-10 o'clock and it's still negative temperatures. It's barely been above negatives all week, so it's pretty bad. So the first chore in the morning is come out and defrost the drinkers. Having to do this every day, you need to make sure you're efficient. So I come out with a big bucket of hot water. I come out with some water that is rather warm, so some lukewarm water, and I've probably done all the drinkers here, 5 big drinkers in a minute. Come out, get your drinker, drop it in the hot water, unscrew your lid for your water you're topping it up with, take out the ice, which comes out like this, just a whole block, and then just pour it in and you're good to go. And it just makes it so much easier than having to leave it to completely defrost the drinkers, having to completely warm them up, and it makes it really fast and efficient for you every single morning, because you're going to have to do this when it's cold. A little tip for you, when you're filling up your drinkers after defrosting them, make sure you only fill them halfway. When water freezes, it expands and it will crack your drinkers if you fill them completely to the top. I'm also building a nice little collection of ice sculptures, as you can see. Loads of little drinkers that definitely haven't frozen out of our drinkers, of course. But there you are. We've got loads of them. That is 2 days worth. It's just frozen blocks of ice, all shaped like drinkers. It's amazing to see. At this time of year, it's vital that you give your birds a high fat and high energy seed mix, such as this one. It contains a variety of seeds like sunflower hearts, safflower seeds, linseed, rape, Niger, hemp, as well as other varieties such as millet. This is really important to give your birds the much needed insulation for cold nights, as well as the energy to keep themselves warm. For single birds, whether it be exhibition or caged, then you need to make sure that you give them about a finger drawer every 2 days. This is sufficient enough for my birds and really helps keep them warm. When feeding large quantities like in aviaries or flights, an egg food drawer might work for up to 5 birds, so I'll give several scoops of this to large flights of canaries, greenfinches or other birds like that. If you follow Aviary on Instagram, you'll see that I regularly put videos and photos on my story of how the birds are going on a more day-to-day basis. And one of the things that it has been for the past few days now is really cold temperatures. And what I've had asked for about multiple times is, do I keep canaries outside and why are they not on heat? And it's quite simple, that canaries are no longer a species that are suited to the climate of the Canary Islands, where it's not really going to get much more below 15 or 20 degrees C, and in summer it might get up to 40. Canaries nowadays are very different, providing you've got the domestic canaries. They're very adaptable for almost any climate, and especially in the UK, the ones that we've got in the UK are really hardy. So I'm well happy to have all my canaries outside all year round in flights. As long as I stop the draft getting there, a canary will be happy in -10. And I must point out as well, when I did have a huge mixed aviary about 5 or 6 years ago, the canaries were the first birds out every single morning when it was cold to play in the snow. Please believe me on that, I'm genuinely serious. Canaries love to play in the snow because I've seen them do it so many times. So canaries are absolutely fine, don't worry about them. Just make sure that a draft can't bother them. You give them some fattening seeds and they're going to be absolutely fine. It wouldn't surprise me to see birds like the red poles bathing in this weather. If I put a tub of water in there, they'd be in it, and you know, it is -2. However, you can give your birds baths, and I will be trying to get them to bath, especially before exhibitions. But in this temperature, it's actually very difficult to keep the bath unfrozen, and then I'd rather it doesn't go everywhere and makes all the easy bed all soggy and then freezes. It's a bit of a problem. So do offer your birds baths in this weather even. Make sure it's in the morning for them so they've got the day to dry, and just try take it out of there as soon as they're done if you can, because it will freeze up very, very quickly. So that does take us to the end of this week's video, guys. So first of all, if you are interested, merch is available now. We've got hoodies, we've got t-shirts and we've got polo shirts all on order for embroidered OC Aviary bullfinch logos. So get in touch if you are interested. Now, if you have enjoyed today's video and you'd like to see more from OC Aviary, touring bird shows, going over to different people's bird rooms, the new bird room coming along and all the new birds that are coming along, then make sure you subscribe down below so you don't miss any more of that future content. And if you have enjoyed today's video as well, smash a like on it, please. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.